Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
We begin tonight in Steuben County, where leaders are working to slow the spread of the highly contagious Omicron variant. They're distributing rapid COVID tests and N95 masks at libraries throughout the county. But as Big Fox's Matt Kleindienst reports, demand for this is so high, supplies ran out quickly in some places on the first day.
Good evening, and in normal times, the main commodity for the Dorman Library in Bath is books. But these days, the hot commodity item is N95 mask and at-home rapid test. Today, dozens of residents made their way to the Dorman Library, not to pick up books, but to pick up pandemic supplies.
Part of our role is to help meet the needs of the community.
Starting this week, libraries across the county are teaming up with health officials to distribute masks and at-home COVID tests. Tara Didron says the Dorman Library was given 6 boxes with 90 rapid test kits. She says the supply was gone within an hour of the library opening today.
It's just amazing to see how many people are calling. We've shared it on Facebook, and it's just so surprising to see how many people are looking for some assistance.
With the Omicron variant surging throughout the state, County Health Director Darlene Smith says it's encouraging to see high demand for mask and test.
It's a good thing. The more people who can test, the more positives we'll find and hopefully get isolated.
Didron says the library hopes to continue getting supplies to distribute throughout Bath.
I hope that the resources are going to continue to flow through our county to be able to provide for the needs of the people here.
Darlene Smith says the county is expecting another shipment from the state later this week. Matt Kleindienst, Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
With the spread of COVID-19 remaining high, businesses worry they could be liable for staff and visitors who test positive. Madison Allworth has more from a restaurant in New York City.
Both the lack of liability protection as well as financial protection is making businesses worried as COVID-19 cases continue to soar. I'm at Babs, a restaurant in New York City that actually had to close down on the 17th when over 50% of the staff tested positive for COVID-19. Rather than force the other part of the staff to come in and be exposed to the virus, they decided to shut down for over 12 days during one of the busiest periods for restaurants. The owner tells me that both the financial protections and the missing liability protection is making him nervous about the future of his restaurant.
It's been so dead. I have barely seen more than 1 or 2 tables in any restaurant. I don't know what will happen, and it is really scary because it doesn't look like there's any government support in sight.
And he's not alone. A new report shows that class action settlements reached a high of over $3.6 billion in 2021, compared to over $1.5 billion in 2020 and over $1.3 billion the year before that, partially driven by lawsuits over return to work programs and vaccine mandates. Here at Babs, they are reopened for dinner, but they are still treading cautiously. Businesses across the U.S. are operating carefully, in some cases implementing even stricter COVID-19 policies to keep both staff and visitors safe and to avoid any potential lawsuits. In New York, I'm Madison Allworth, Fox Business.
Multiple correctional officers were injured during an inmate attack at the Elmira prison this week. On Monday, an inmate began throwing punches at officers while being transferred to his cell. It took multiple attempts to subdue the inmate, during which time he took a bite at an officer's leg. 3 officers were sent to the Arnott Hospital as a result of the fight. The inmate is currently serving a 7-year sentence for robbery charges. 13 people, including 7 children, are dead after a massive fire rips through a row home in Pennsylvania. It happened around 6 this morning in the city's Fairmount neighborhood. Details are still coming in, but officials believe the fire may have started on the 2nd floor of the building. In addition to the 13 killed, 2 people, including 1 child, were transported to the hospital to be treated for injuries. Officials say none of the smoke detectors inside the building were working at the time.
This is, without a doubt, one of the most tragic days in our city's history. Loss of so many people in such a tragic way. I don't have much more to say than please keep all these folks, and especially these children, in your prayers. Losing so many kids is just devastating.
The cause of the fire is under investigation. New York's Redistricting Commission remains deadlocked on redrawing congressional maps. However, both parties are in agreement on the southern tier. Members from both parties presented maps that would preserve a congressional district in the southern tier. The 2 maps were sent to the state legislature to be voted on. If neither map is approved, the commission will have until February to present new maps. Donations are pouring in for Coloradans devastated by recent wildfires. Many in the Denver suburbs are looking for a place to stay after the fire tore through hundreds of homes in a matter of hours. Dan Springer has the latest.
Hundreds of Boulder County residents were allowed back into their neighborhoods Tuesday to dig through what remains of their homes after the most destructive wildfire in Colorado's history.
I had my grandmother's antiques and like my mother's stuff, and my kids had stuff from their childhood. They pretty much grew up here.
Almost 1,000 homes were destroyed by the fire that spread quickly after months of drought, something experts say was exacerbated by warming temperatures from climate change. Flames moving so rapidly, many here had just minutes to get out.
No words, just sadness. I think a lot of us who survived feel some guilt for even having anything.
I would love to have it rebuilt as long as I could afford it. I have a mortgage, and I had my life planned for the next, till I retire, which could be any day, but it won't be now.
Coloradans are stepping up with donation drives to help their neighbors any way they can. Boulder County is distributing $5 million in donated funds to people whose homes were damaged or destroyed. Many here still lack electricity, gas, and clean drinking water.
We don't have water that is potable in our house, so we are both boiling water and using the plastic bottles. We're fine. But this is our town. We love our town. The entire town is hurting. Everyone just wants to help.
The cause of the fire is still unknown, but investigators are reviewing several leads. The Boulder County Sheriff says they are not going to rush the process. In Seattle, Dan Springer, Fox News.
Still ahead tonight, the nation is approaching the one-year mark since the January 6th attack on the Capitol. But how do Americans feel about the events of that deadly day?
It sort of falls into place behind the sort of narrative that Republicans in Congress have held on to, that this actually was just not that big of a deal.
An in-depth look at one poll's findings.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Tonight's Big Fox forecast is brought to you by William Mattar. Good evening, everyone. We are expecting a storm system to approach by tomorrow, so it's going to put an end to our warming trend, and it is going to bring some snow, and blowing snow could also be possible as well. But Thursday, we are going to start off with some sunshine. Clouds will increase during the day, and it will be a little bit cooler by Thursday night into Friday. There could be 1 to 3 inches across some of our hometowns, and then we'll stay below freezing until Sunday before warmer air starts to make its way known by the end of the weekend. But tomorrow it's going to be seasonably cold. High pressure still situated to our south. It will continue to scoot away to allow for a storm system to approach. So by Thursday night, this low pressure system moves through the mid-Atlantic region, and we're going to be on the colder side of the system. As moisture streams into the Twin Tiers, we are expecting some snow across our area starting on Thursday night and will continue through your Friday. In addition to that, we have another storm system coming in over the weekend that will bring the possibility of some icy conditions for your Sunday and then changing over to snow on Monday. But for tomorrow, temperatures will start off in the 20s, low 20s at that. We only warm up to around 34 degrees. There will be some peaks of sunshine, and then clouds will start to take over, I think, in the afternoon. So let's take a look at our future radar, where we could find a few flurries for tonight. And as we make our way into tomorrow, that will start to clear out. I think most of the snow will be confined to our west, and I don't think any of our hometowns will actually see any precipitation for your Thursday. But clouds will really increase in the late afternoon to the evening hours, and the snow will be sneaking in from the south, becoming a little bit more widespread in the overnight on Thursday. Thursday. There could be some periods of heavy snow as well. By 6 o'clock in the morning, just a few snow showers across some of our hometowns, and it's going to be very spotty. By Friday night, I think all that will be clearing away, and we should see a little bit of sunshine by Sunday. Here's a look at your forecast for tonight. Again, temperatures will be below freezing, low 20s for Corning and Elmira. Highs tomorrow will actually be above freezing in Elmira, 32 degrees right at freezing in Corning, and even colder in Wayland at 28 degrees, Hornell at 29. Our 7-day forecast features much colder conditions. On Thursday night, we drop down to around 21 degrees, and we're not going to be above freezing until Sunday. Again, we do have the possibility of a few snow showers on Friday, and then another storm system that could bring an icy mix by Sunday morning. Much colder air early next week with highs around 20 on Tuesday.
Toyota says being number one is not a priority, and the maker of the Walkman and the PlayStation now wants to get into making cars. Cheryl Casone has those details and more.
Toyota executives say they will not use the company's rise to top U.S. automaker in advertising, and they don't see it as a permanent shift in the industry. Last year, for the first time, Toyota sold more cars in the U.S. than General Motors. However, the shift happened as GM was dealing with the global computer chip shortage, and Toyota had better supplies of the chips. Toyota executive Jack Hollis says this is not our goal, nor do we see it as sustainable. Well, Sony is looking to get into the electric vehicle market. Company unveiling a prototype 7-seat electric SUV during the Las Vegas CES conference on Tuesday. Sony first showed off an EV sedan at CES 2 years ago, but at the time it didn't have any plans to sell a Sony car. Now it plans to launch Sony Mobility sometime this spring. Well, Deere & Company has developed a self-driving tractor. The fully autonomous vehicle is designed for large-scale farming. Deere plans to sell the autonomous tractor later this year. It has not set the price yet. Little Caesars is raising the price of its $5 hot and ready pizza for the first time in a quarter century. Classic pepperoni pie can now cost $5.55. However, the pizza chain says the new and improved dish is going to come with 33% more pepperoni.
As flight cancellations and delays persist across the country, an air travel expert is offering some tips on what to do to ensure a smoother travel experience. Linda Williams reports.
Most people fly in and out of Sky Harbor Airport with no problem, but with COVID, staff shortages, and winter weather, some travel stories are starting to sound more like horror stories.
Originally I had my flight at 1 o'clock, got delayed 4 times.
We were rerouted to leave at 6 p.m.
I've been literally here at the airport since 9 p.m. The flights were limited.
We were just sitting on the plane for like an hour and a half.
Just want to get home.
Uncertainty and angst. Travel expert Angela Rice has some advice for air passengers to help them avoid both. Here's number 1. Book an early morning flight.
Early bird gets the worm. Earlier flights tend to have less hiccups. If you have delays in the morning and those continue, it often has a ripple effect. So you're going to see an increase in delay later in the day.
Rice says some clients are even double booking flights, especially if they're headed for an important event like a wedding or a funeral.
I think that that's risky if you're not looking at the terms and conditions. You're going to want to make sure you have either a refundable ticket or you know that you are going to be able to change that ticket.
Fly direct when possible, says Rice, and which airline you choose does matter.
Definitely work with an airline that has a major hub in your market, because that's going to ensure you more opportunities to pick a flight that is closest to your original flight in the event that there is a cancellation.
Track your flight on any number of apps. If you're the first to know there's an issue with a delay or a cancellation, you certainly improve your chances of rebooking quickly. And if you opt for flight insurance, read the fine print. It may not cover all you think it does.
The CDC warning people to avoid cruise travel regardless of vaccination status. The CDC is investigating at least 90 cruise ships that have or have had outbreaks of COVID, including some owned by Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, and Carnival Cruise Lines. The cruise line industry putting out a statement that says, quote, "A cruise ship provides one of the highest levels of demonstrated mitigation against the virus. We're disappointed and disagree with the CDC's decision to single out the cruise industry."
They say you're probably more at risk in a supermarket than on a cruise ship. Is that an exaggeration?
No, it's not an exaggeration. Everyone on that ship is vaccinated,
both the crew and the passengers, and I think that population doesn't exist in the grocery store.
Despite the CDC's warnings, 242 cruise ships across 68 brands will operate around the world this month. That's the highest number of ships to set sail since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. As the nation approaches the one-year mark of the January 6th attack on the Capitol, how do Americans feel about the events of that deadly day? Chris Demio has an in-depth look at OnePoll's findings.
Americans' views still widely vary when it comes to how they interpret last year's January 6th attack on the Capitol, when a mob of people supporting former President Donald Trump stormed Congress to try and prevent the transfer of power to President Biden. Now, according to a new Associated Press NORC poll, 4 in 10 Republicans classify the insurrection as either very or extremely violent, compared to 9 in 10 Democrats.
It sort of falls into place behind the sort of narrative that Republicans in Congress have held on to, that this actually was just not that big of a deal.
Researchers also found roughly 3 in 10 Republicans view the riot as not being violent at all.
They mostly think that the events were only somewhat violent, if they were violent at all, and most think that they don't want to see more investigation happen.
But when it comes to former President Trump's involvement, 57% of Americans say he's responsible for the deadly events that occurred, up from 50% who believed that last year. Meanwhile, in the aftermath of the attack, the chief of the Capitol Police says the insurrection has made law enforcement better prepared to protect the Capitol.
The department began significant work immediately after the 6th to fix the failures that occurred: intelligence failures, operational planning failures, leadership failures.
Former President Trump was scheduled to hold a news conference this January 6th. He was expected to speak against the ongoing Congressional Committee's investigation into the insurrection. That event, however, is now canceled.
Americans shelled out for cars last year despite smaller supply. New car sales in the U.S. rebounded slightly after a record low year for sales in 2020. Sales hit more than 15 million vehicles last year, which is up almost 3.5% from 2020. Now, despite this rise, sales were about $2 million short of pre-pandemic numbers. KFC launches its plant-based fried chicken alongside Beyond Meat nationwide. The popular chain is adding the plant-based product to its menus starting next Monday for a limited time. After several trials, the company's created a meat substitute that will imitate KFC's chicken flavor and texture. KFC tested plant-based chicken at several restaurants across the country. A man in Colorado wasn't sure what happened to his cat after a wildfire destroyed his home last Thursday. That man posted to social media and got his answer. Erica Gonzalez has the story.
Camden Hall was at his job on Eldora Mountain Thursday afternoon, unaware that chaos was breaking out in the town he calls home.
Making snow on a part of the mountain where we don't really get cell service.
By the time he regained cell service, his phone was bombarded with messages about the fire raging through Superior.
Kind of started to set in.
Camden's best bud Merlin, his cat of 8 years, was home. Several long hours later, Camden got a call from his landlord.
She was like, "It's all gone, Cam." And it was tough. The only thing that went through my mind was Merlin. I just felt broken. Like someone just like ripped my soul out, I guess. It was like the best way. I just felt like lifeless almost.
Camden says he couldn't remember if he left the sliding glass door open for Merlin that morning, something he does to give Merlin the option to roam the backyard. He held onto the hope he had. That night, he turned to social media for help.
I was just like in tears and I posted that with, a picture and my number.
The next morning, Camden was once again flooded with messages. This time, it was about Merlin.
It was a long shot, but it worked.
A woman said she found Merlin meowing in front of one of the only homes still standing in their neighborhood. That same day, Camden was reunited with his beloved cat at the Northside Emergency Pet Clinic.
His face is burned, like his whiskers are all gone.
Camden says he went from feeling he had nothing left to suddenly having everything he needs.
My heart goes out to all the pets and the families, for those to stay hopeful and just remember the good times with their pet.
Well, we want to leave you with a smile tonight. Put your expert palate to the test and win ice cream for life. Turkey Hill is offering free ice cream for life to a flavor detective who has the scoop on what their super secret flavor is. Customers can pick up a container of the brand's first ever mystery flavor in stores and then put their taste buds to the test. All guesses can be sent in to Turkey Hill's website by scanning the QR code on the package. Ice cream lovers who guess right will have a taste for the grand prize and be entered to win free frozen treats for life. The mystery flavor will be revealed on March 14th. From our whole team, thanks for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful night.